think I'm
Meeting is being recorded.
Yes, we are. Got 2 new people who've come in, so now I've got to find them.
Looking good, Dev.
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
Natasha, Frank, David. I'm sorry about all this.
Don't be.
I thought we'd hit the ground
Listen,
running.
we're all in the right place for the right reason.
Hi, Brenda.
It's all.
Hey,
We
how are
appreciate
you all?
Hey. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
I wish it would just list those who are
Ramona.
waiting.
Hi.
Okay. Well,
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Bonjour, mon ami.
Hello,
Hello.
everybody. How are you?
Hello.
Long time. Missing all of you guys.
Hi, Colette, Dougie's mom.
I'll show you Diane.
okay. I think we're
Hey,
good
Joan.
for now. Okay.
There's Diane, Joan.
Jody.
Hello, John.
See,
You wanna come
everybody,
over?
it's amazing the number of people that Joseph knew.
Yeah.
It just surprised me. Maybe not that it surprised me, but he's finally getting us all together. That's one thing he
know.
always wanted to do. So that's kind of nice. But welcome each of you. As we are celebrating Joseph's life today, I thought about putting something together. I am an ordained minister, but I decided, no, this is just going to be very informal and a way for each of us to share what Joseph meant to us, what he helped us with. Some people that are here are clients that he's helped. Others are friends, others are family. And I just thought it would be a nice way for each of us to help with our grieving. Thankfully, it's been 3 months and I can get through this without crying, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's the truth.
If it had only been a couple of weeks, I wouldn't be that way. But so I probably will just myself start. I have a list of people who have let me know they'd like to say something. And so I'm just going to go down the list and have them start. But so that way we can at least keep this moving. I will start just myself, just so that kind of give you an idea of, I guess, what it is we're trying to do.
I want to honor you.
I think for me, I met Joseph 24 years ago. We were putting together a group of people to open a wellness center in St. Croix. And we all met, about 20 of us, in Alexandria, Virginia. And that's where I first met him. And we were talking about getting rid of ghosts in the house. I didn't know much of any of that. So he and I together were working on doing this. I was showing him kind of what I thought I should do, and he was showing me what he thought he should do. And it just kind of worked, and we stayed in touch. And I knew Joseph had psychic abilities. We had met at my daughter's house for another meeting at a later time, and a friend was there. And he said to her, he said, "You've had an abortion." And she said, "No one knows that." And I didn't want anybody to know that. And he was kind of taken aback by it. And I just figured, well, maybe I should talk to him about this. Giving messages, what he should do. Ask people's permission first, especially if you're in a group of people. So he and I just kind of stayed friends after that. And again, don't think there's much that I couldn't say to him, that he wouldn't accept me fully. He loved unconditionally, as you all know. And he's been just a great, great friend to me, and I miss him terribly.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go any further. I will ask now that, is Lisa here? Lisa Boudreau?
Hi, yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, good.
I'm
Would
here.
you like to share your experience with us?
Thank
With
you.
Joseph?
Yes, I would love to. I know Colette's also on screen. Now, Colette is Dougie's mother. And
Oh,
Dougie
good.
was Joseph's guide. And she's having a few issues with audio, so she's kind of listening in on my phone. so that
Oh,
she
good. Good.
But yes, so I wanted to say for her that how much peace and calmness Joseph brought to her when in those early years and early months after losing Dougie, you know, he that really helped bring her some feeling of peace to connect with Joseph and to hear his words about Dougie, and you know, to know that there is more beyond when someone dies, that Dougie was still around and his energy still lives on, and I know that she found that very, very calming and very reassuring. So she asked me to pass that message on. And I met Joseph through, obviously I was nanny to Dougie when he was a little boy, friend of the family, and I met Joseph on a couple of occasions, and he was just a very, as you've just said, a dear friend. So I've known him about 14 years, I think, when Dougie first died. And I brought my family to New York about 8 years ago, and he showed us around the city and showed us some of his favorite places to go. And he just was such a caring, kind, compassionate person with so much graciousness and understanding. And he gave me a lot of knowledge because I was quite getting into sort of spiritualism and understanding it, and he would encourage me and say, oh, read this book and try this and send me little links. And even last year I went to Portugal, and he was sending me, he said, oh, listen to this Portuguese music, or I went to a pub in where I live here, and it was the Mitfords, the Nancy Mitford's family pub, and he said, oh, I once met one of the Mitfords, and sent me a photograph. So he just had so much knowledge and so much experience and would share that beautifully. So yeah, I just, like you, miss him desperately. I spoke to him last about he passed away, but I kind of feel now, I know he's with it. I know he's with us, and I know his energy, calmness is around us, but he is greatly missed. That's the one to talk to, and so yeah, thank you for letting me speak.
Oh,
You met
thank
him where?
you. Well, anyone that knows Joseph knows that Dougie was a part of his life for the last
Virginia.
years of his life. And I wanted to let Dougie's mom know that for Dougie, I've connected with Dougie several times, and his energy is just so loving, so kind. It's like being in God's presence. Joseph and I talked about it several times. Dougie was such a help to Joseph. Several times I've cleared entities from Joseph, but even maybe 3 times in the middle of the night, Dougie would call me and say, Joseph needs help. And so I'd go in and help him, relieving another entity. And I can't say enough about Dougie. He was wonderful. He was with Joseph to the end. He was with him when he went through the light. He's not with him now. He's gone on to do other things, whatever that is, his soul progresses to. Was with him here when he needed him. And for that, we're extremely grateful. I know Joseph was.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so lovely. That's really nice to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Maureen, are you here? Don't see Maureen. How about Frank? Okay.
Brenda, thank you so much.
Oh, there you are.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for organizing Joseph's memorial. I was fortunate enough to meet some of you at you know, the memorial we had here in New York in Astoria right after Joseph passed. And thank you all for coming. And I also mailed out, I had some memorial cards made up. And if anybody wants one or two, I still have more I can send out. I got to try and get through this without crying too. Joseph and I met in 2008 in recovery in an Al-Anon room. And Joseph was such an amazing friend. Our friendship just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. He was living in Manhattan on the Upper West Side at that time. And I have always been pretty active and avid swimmer, triathlete, and I got him, I think, his first pair of goggles, and we got in the water and we swam at some of the local pools, and he eventually joined the YMCA, and we swam together several times. And but our friendship was really kind of like what Brenda described. There was no, I didn't have to hold back anything. I shared anything, everything that was in my heart, on my mind, anything that was troubling me. And Joseph always had the kindest and most amazing sense of wisdom and acceptance about him. So it was a friendship like no other. That I can just say, and I miss him terribly. I never ever expected to lose Joseph so suddenly, and as I speak now, I realize that I have not done enough grief work about the loss of Joseph. So my wife Emmy's with me. Joseph spent many holidays here with us. You know, he moved from Manhattan to Queens, which was even closer to us. So like when John Philippe visited in the summer, I think it was 2018, and stayed with Joseph, we swung by and picked up John Philippe and his son, and they spent the day with us at the local pool club. And but Joseph spent many holidays and just summer dinners here in the backyard with Emmy and I. And you want to say a couple words?
Yes. So I always remember this, the first time that I met Joseph, like this big guy, and I was a little skeptical when my husband said that he does reading and everything, but when the first hug that we gave on each other, I just felt such a good connection, a good spirit from him, good energy, and we bond since then. And yeah, but his loss, it was very unexpected. And actually, we brought it a white rose from the memorial, the service. And it was the first time that I saw a rose living for 6 weeks, right? Was the most beautiful white rose we had in the house for 6 weeks. And yeah, I just felt his presence so alive in our home. And yeah, I miss him a lot. I miss the talks that he gave to us, the guidance that he gave to my husband and everything, the friendship. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the next person. Brent, would you like to share?
It's great to see everybody here celebrate Joe. He's such a special guy, and something. But before I do, I just noticing everybody's faces here and names. I realized Joe really loved his friends a lot. He would talk about all of you so much to me. and I get confused about those that I've met and those that I would occasionally speak on because he'd be like, "Oh, here's Shay, here's Brenda," and then he'd talk about you guys for hours, and he loved all of you. And I'm just realizing that now. It's like I feel like I know some of you who I haven't even met because of Joe. That's how he spoke about you folks. That's how special he was. And anyway, I wanted to talk about the fact with Joe that I feel like the world feels a lot less interesting without him around. And I think we talked about this. It's just, there's less opportunity, I think, especially in my life, where you can find a conversation with somebody on that level. And to talk to Joe was to have these wild and weird conversations. I felt like we would dance between novels and weekend plans and philosophy and music, and then get into the spirit world and the afterlife. And like, I can't really explain it, but there are immense possibilities as a speaker and as a listener when conversing with Joe. It was such a comfortable experience. And he would make conversations, chaotic yet comfortable. And this was, I think, his greatest gift, the ability to meet anyone at their level, to be authentic, and to listen to them with great intent. And I think conversing was the way Joe showed his love, honestly. And so I could tell you a bunch of stories, but there's actually the last time I saw Joe is the story I wanted to bring up. And I saw Joe at the Cigar Inn. We would meet there a lot on 52nd Street about a month before he passed. He walked right up the stairs to meet me. He looked great. He was smiling, looked incredibly healthy, even lost a little weight. And he looked good. And he began smoking. We just started talking. And I think we were talking about jazz music or something. And there was a gentleman sitting next to us, and he just kind of jumped into our conversation. And he was an older guy. He was a playwright. And I swear to God, I was about 30 minutes later, and it was just Joe and this man going back and forth about their times in New York, about the jazz greats that they loved and saw live, about like vaudeville and playwrights. I mean, Joe, he could do this, right? He could just bring up this time he spent with a playwright like 20 years ago, or this thing about this his favorite novel, a passage. And this man was within 30 minutes he was mesmerized by Joseph. Like he stood up. I think he shook my hand really briefly, and then he immediately wanted to get Joe's number and gave him his card. And I just realized, it took Joe less than 30 minutes to impress a stranger, to come across as that authentic self, and to be kind, and to listen, and to be heard in an interesting way. And I think I saw Joe at his best. I remember, thinking months later, I think I saw him at one of his best. And I was really glad to see him at his best one the last time. Doing what he loved and excelling at it, being kind, being curious, and being incredibly interesting. And I just miss him. And thank you all.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brent. I think a lot of what you're saying is true. And we all can feel that, especially with the way Joseph touched people. It just was miraculous to me, how he could touch somebody's life so easily. Let's see. Ida, did you have something you'd like to share?
Yes. So I first met Joseph. We were taking an online class. I had no idea who he was. The course that I was taking, I wasn't real sure of. And Amy, it was not yours. But anyway, I was just mesmerized by his voice, his tone, his presence. I just gravitated to him, and there was something about him that I needed to know more of. So I looked at the schedule of people that were attending this and found his name and sent him an email. And he wrote back to me, and that started our conversation. And anyway, then I found out that he was a psychic and a shaman, and a journalist, and I went, wow. So I was told by my guides that I needed to have an appointment with him. So I got an appointment. And we were on the phone for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And he was wonderful. He said to me, there's someone around you that's very tall. Who would that be? And so I said to him, well, would 6'7" qualify? Well, he started roaring and he said, well, of course it does. And I said, well, that would be my son. And he said, well, tell me about him. So in a kind of a snippet, I told him about my son, Brian, who had not an easy life, blah, blah, blah. I said he was always getting into trouble. And, you know, and I said, I believe that he's got some psychic abilities and stuff. So anyway, I gave him examples, and Joseph said to me, I will work with him. Well, the floodgates opened. I just started crying because I've always been yearning and looking for some help for my son. And it turns out that my son walked the same path as Joseph, that he always had all these entities that were talking to him all the time. And that's why my son Brian used to get into so much trouble, because he was listening to all these entities. So Joseph worked with Brian. And I kind of laugh because the first time the two of them got together, of course, Joseph had to qualify Brian, because any mother can say, oh, my kid's psychic. And Joseph told me later, he said, yeah, I asked Brian, he said, tell me my height and my weight so he could qualify him. Well, Brian told him his height, he told him his weight, he told him what he was wearing, he told him that he was gay, that he was black. And he said, and by the way, you really need to stop smoking those ugly cigars. You know, they're not good for you. Joseph went, holy crap. He said, yeah, he qualifies. So that kind of introduced me to my own son. It opened a new conversation with my son, who at that time was almost 50. And so it was like a new beginning. So thank you, Joseph, for making that happen. Then, so they had a relationship. I had a relationship. Joseph also introduced me to Brenda, who we are still friends and everything. But the other part of this is, and sorry that I'm getting weepy here. I didn't expect that. But anyway, my son passed away 2 years ago. So it was, Joseph just gave me a gift. And 26 hours after my son passed, I got a phone call from Joseph. And he said, Ida, Brian's here with me. He wants to talk to you. So I was on the phone for an hour and a half talking to my son through Brian. And that was the most wonderful thing that ever could have happened. And, you know, I was so intent on listening to every single word. And I wasn't crying because Brian was so excited that he had made it, that he had actually passed. And through that whole thing, I understood that it was Brian's time and it was okay to let him go. And for that, I'll always be grateful to Joseph. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ida.
Thank you.
Yes, he was a gift that way for sure. Many of my family members have called Joseph as well. I think he was known by most of my family. And as I'm just sitting here looking at all of the names on the screen, I'm realizing I've known or spoken to most of you, but I've not met any of you except for Dilsa, I think, which is pretty amazing. It's just as Brent said, he's talked about each of you so often. For most of you that, I feel like I know you, but we've never met. So this is really interesting.
Sorry, Brenda,
Yes.
would it be okay if I said something? Ida really touched something.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yes. Mhm.
And both me and Sophia. So when Joseph had some things going on in his life, he turned to me because I'm a therapist and I do spiritual regression and helped him connect with his guide, who he's very connected with. And it was not so long after that that our son died, just a little over a year ago. And we were, well, complete messes.
Yeah, it was from today to tomorrow. I mean, like within a few minutes, more or less,
So
without any warning.
Joseph's name came to mind, and I contacted him. And within 3 days of our son's death, he contacted us and did a session for us and helped us connect with our son. And it saved our lives, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we wouldn't be here otherwise.
it really helped us get through. It was so beautiful. And, for me to turn to a client of mine was not something I would normally do, but
right.
He was so beautiful about it, and it made our whole process so much different, having been able to talk with him and have him reassure us that he was really in the light and he was doing okay, and that he was so much more free from the struggles he had. And yeah, so Ida, I just
Thank you
by what you said, and really had to say he did the same kind of thing for us too.
I'm glad you did. And Paul, I need to tell you, Joseph has mentioned you many times to me and how much you helped him as well.
Good.
So you should know that.
Thank you. Yeah, we just heard a few days ago, Sophia's been more connected with him on a personal level and been writing to him and wondering why she wasn't hearing back. And now we know.
Yeah.
But it was really, 2-3 days ago we found out?
Yeah, just like 2 days ago. Thanks to David who filled us in.
So you're still in the shock of it.
Yeah. I did it actually. Paul helped me connect earlier. Sometimes I need someone from outside, and it was beautiful. We connected, and that was really beautiful. But I really miss him on a personal level. Like what people share here and what Brent said really touched me so much. Just the broad spectrum he brought into his personality, and we connected many times on actually just on the screen. We talked many times with each other. He wanted to do a session and we had to postpone because of gastro problems and so on. And I was so looking forward to spending time with him in New York. I'm spending time with him now there.
Right. It is nice to do that, isn't it?
It is, but I feel like he was one of my tribe.
Yes.
I mean, really one of my tribe here. And so, maybe I get to know some of you. And I could be part of your tribe.
Right. You're more than welcome. That was one of Joseph's gifts, was bringing people together that way. And we have that to thank him for.
Right.
I don't, Diane, would you like to say something?
I would. Hi, everybody. Joseph and I met 40 years ago. Our offices connected through the back doors. And that's how the journey began. And we became friends and talked every Sunday and during the week. He was I called it my inside scoop, because he would always help me, along my, and like Brent said, I think there was nothing that I could not say to him. Because he already knew anyway. And, my daughters are here and they have never been without him. And this is, he and my mother shared the same birthday. So there were these fiery Scorpios. And, this grief has been different than anything. My aunt, who was my mother figure, died in July. And he walked me through that. And he's walked me through so many things. you know, at first when I called Ron when I couldn't find him, because I'd spoken to him the week of Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving morning, he said he'd lost his phone. So one of the gifts from Joseph was Ron. And we've been, we're here for each other. We don't talk a lot, but I know that if I call Ron, he picks up the phone. And that night I called him, I said, something's really wrong. And he called me back within an hour and he said, he's gone. I said, well, where'd he go? I thought maybe he went to the store or something. I had no thought of him not being with me anymore. And the grief for me was like waves. I live at the ocean, and it's like having your back to the ocean and not knowing which wave is going to come and, plow you over. And my sister friend, Teddy, walked with me. She's walked with me through so many things. And her daughter was married by Joseph. Her daughter and son-in-law was married by him. Everything at their house, at Teddy's house, it's called Silvermar, everything of value and everything of joy that I have had in my life has been through there. My daughter's bridal shower. Jeff and I got married as a surprise wedding. It was my birthday, my 60th birthday, and everybody thought they were coming to a birthday party. And we went upstairs, changed our clothes, and came down and had a wedding. And everybody was saying, this isn't a birthday party, this is a wedding, this is a wedding. And and it was a blast, and he was there with us. And I'm looking at Kyle and Devin, they're getting weepy, but they have never been without him. And Joseph was the Kyle walker, because Kyle was a screamer as an infant, and he would spell me. He said, I don't know what to do with her. I said, just keep patting, keep humming, and keep walking. I need to get in the shower. And, we shared so many things. And the one thing I'd like to take, to give of this is, don't wait. If you love somebody, tell them so. If you want to send somebody a gift, send it. I love you is 3 words, and it makes all the difference in the world. I miss him. Some days are worse than others. I mean, he walked me through the death of my best friend, Kathy, 10 years ago. She and I had the same birthday. He knew her. So, I'm at a loss. And sometimes I just sit and what he would tell me was, if you can hear their voice, then they're still with you. And I can still hear his voice. Wow. And I can still hear Kathy's voice 10 years later. But yeah, this has just been something that I just have to walk through a minute at a time sometimes. But I have my daughters who are amazing. I met Ramona, and and I have been kind of incognito because I just don't know what to do with it. So I've been spending a lot of time sitting and praying and meditating and connecting. And I'm just so grateful for all of you, because like Brenda said, I know all of you, but if I walked up to you in a supermarket, I wouldn't know anybody but Ron. And the first time I met Ron in person, he was on his way to work, and we were at the studio, and he ran downstairs to say hello, and then ran back up. And I thought, with all this craziness on a Saturday night, his heart was there to say hello. And I'll never forget that, Ron, ever. And, his new music, just, his life enriched so many other lives. And I'm grateful to have known him. I'm just sorry it was cut short. And one thing that he and Kathy would say is, don't tell people you lost me. You know exactly where I'm at.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And Diane, it was Joseph that introduced me to you.
Yes.
Because I needed you so badly. I couldn't. That's one thing about Joseph. When I needed information, he had it. It doesn't matter what the subject was. He knew somebody that get in touch with to help me. But I will share just briefly. I was coming off from morphine myself after 18 years. And it was, I was having a tough time. My doctors couldn't help me. No one, I'd been seeing a pain management specialist. He couldn't help me. And Joseph said, well, I've got a cousin who can help you. It wasn't realized later that cousin isn't really mean cousin, but it does. I didn't realize you weren't his real cousin until recently, because he always referred to you as cousin. but Diane helped me. I was on, well, I was taking 120 milligrams of morphine a day or more. And I'd gotten down to 30 milligrams on my own because I didn't have, like I said, any doctor's help or anything. And Joseph introduced me to Diane, who then helped me go the rest of the way. I was stuck. For 3 months, I was stuck at 30 milligrams of morphine. I couldn't get beyond it. And Diane helped me with that. And I will forever, always love you for that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. Amy, would you like to say something? Amy is, most of you may know Amy. I don't know. Joseph and I took classes from her for rescue mediumship and chakra classes, and it was just amazing. Thank you. You taught us a lot. But Joseph helped, Amy helped Joseph and I guess, become better rescue mediums. And for that, I'll be thankful as well. But I know that Amy may, if you'd like to say something, please go ahead.
Well, it's difficult to actually talk right now because he's sort of smothering me right now, and I'm not able to talk because he's actually in my energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. Yeah, he kind of jumped in my energy about an hour ago and has been like, I don't know if anyone sensed my energy being very tense for the last hour. He's been with me the whole time. I'm gonna ask him to back up just for a minute. Yeah, he's giving me a hard time right now. So, I met Joseph about 8 years ago. 7, 8 years ago. And he had reached out because he was having some situations that I'm very familiar with in the spirit world. And he came to me looking for advice and to also talk about my books. And he immediately had such charisma to him that it was like, oh boy, I need to talk to this individual. He's so brilliant with the way that he talks and the way he expresses himself, and he's so kind. There's a kindness in him that you don't see in a lot of people. Sincerity that you don't usually see in people. And that I was captivated by his energy in a way because of that sincerity. And I had only been speaking to him a few times through email, and finally we met through Zoom once I figured out what Zoom was, because I'm not tech savvy years ago. And he and I just would have long conversations, and usually it would be around spirit and mediumship and shamanism, energy work. He wanted to learn about rescue mediumship, which is what I specialize in. But he didn't want to learn. He wanted it, but he didn't want it. It's like, you want to know how to protect yourself, but you don't want any part of it. And I completely understand that. That's where I was 25 years ago. And I did everything I could to kind of mentor him and help him through that. In exchange, he provided an amazing friendship, one that will probably last my lifetime because of his sincerity and his honesty and his kindness that, like I said, you don't see through many people. And then I met Brenda through Joseph, and I did meet Ida as well, and they all started coming to my classes, which was really wonderful, their energy. I've met David through Joseph. I've met a few of you, and I would always hear, Joseph talks about you all the time. And I think it's wonderful to know that I had that type of effect with him, and that I was able to provide something to Joseph because he's provided so much to everybody else. And knowing that I was there to give him things that he needed. It's hard asking for help. It really is. And especially when we're givers, we're healers. We do so much for everybody else. It's hard to ask for something in return. And so when he did ask for that, I wouldn't hesitate to be there for him. Even if it was at midnight or 3 a.m. and he would text me, and I need help. I'm like, you got it. You know, I'm available for you. So off and on over the last 7 years, he and I have been very close. I've worked with Brenda, with him as well, on a lot of very interesting cases that would probably blow all your minds. So we won't discuss them. But the things that we went through were quite amazing. His energy was so intense that he didn't just grab the attention of people that were alive, but people that were dead had to be around Joseph as well. Yeah, the good, the bad, everything. Everybody wanted a little bit of Joseph. So it was a very interesting last 7 years with him. I was able to get an interview with him on my podcast, which I'd be happy to share with all of you, just so you guys can hear his voice and see his face and have him on video. I know a lot of you would like to share in that experience. I knew he could go so much further than what he did, where he did. I wanted to push him a little bit more to get him more on the public stage, and he didn't need that. He said, I'm doing what I'm doing, and yet he is requiring me to be on the public stage. So he's pushing me from the spirit world. I know he's going to be part of my team in spirit, as well as Brenda's team. And he'll be with Ida quite a bit in her psychic journey, or any of you that are doing your own psychic work, your own spiritual work. He'll be with all of you. Talking to me. He's very grateful that all of you are here. He feels very blessed. He feels very honored. He understands that he was there and connected to all of you, but he didn't realize the impact that he made on all of your lives. He said it was just being him. I was just being me. Well, him being him meant that several of our lives were changed because of that. So I think today is a wonderful day, and every day is a day to honor him and what he's done and what he continues to do through all of us. And that's the best way to allow someone's memory to live on, is to speak their words, do what they would have done, reach out to help people the way he would have reached out to help people. Allow him to continue to live through us. And I plan on doing that. So he just wants to stick around for a little bit and listen to all of your kind words. As you know, he's one of a kind. So I'm very grateful to be here and finally meet some of you. And he's always with you. In spirit, you know, we left our physical body, but he's always here. And he will continue to always be here. It's just now he's got angel wings. So, which I believed he had while he was here anyway. So thank you, Brenda, for allowing me to talk. I'm going to allow him to jump back in me so he can be here with us.
Thank you, Amy. I was goosebumping as you're talking. But you're right. Who would like to say something next? I mean, I can call names, or you can raise your hand, or oh, Shay, hi, I've been looking at you anyway. Good.
Hi, Brenda. Hi, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. My story is similar to everyone in that I know all of you. I've talked to some of you, but I really have met all of you. Joseph, let me share how we met. I met Joseph, it's at least 20 years ago. And this was when he was still working primarily as a journalist. And how we met was he met me to interview me. I was in fashion at the time, and he was interviewing me for an article. And we having this interview over lunch. And of course, having it over lunch, we do that part about what I did in that business. And then, of course, it came to the conversation that he discovered that I was a medium and he's a medium, and then the rest is history. And one of my favorite things about Joseph is that Joseph had his own psychic network. Yeah, we know that, right? He had a full psychic network that he would connect all of us, right? If someone else needed a reading, or that was always kind of wonderful. And though we didn't physically see each other all the time, we spoke all of the time. And one of the things that we really had was he would call, and I'm sure he had it with you guys too, like reading for others, like reading for his people and getting some confirmation on things and looking a deeper or differently. And we did a lot of that all the time, back and forth. I really, really miss him. I really, really miss knowing that he's there, and the intimate conversations, and being pushed to go further into the psychic work. I mean, he used to push me a lot to do more. And we really enjoyed our intuitive interchange. It was pretty remarkable, and respected, a lot of respect on both ends. And he came this morning. He was extremely excited, by the way, meeting, like giddy, happy, excited. And it was interesting because, not that we all get the information, but I don't know if anyone else saw this coming. This was really, really, really a shock. And, you know, he and I, right before his passing, my sister was very ill. So we were in communication a lot about where she was emotionally and spiritually. And this always gave me a little bit of chills. My sister passed away in December, right after Joseph. And Joseph in November, and we were talking, and he was feeling like she would not be here physically past November. And he kept asking me about his health. And I wasn't picking anything up, but I almost feel like he was feeling something. I almost feel like he was feeling this passing in November, that I wasn't picking up. I don't know if anyone else did.
Nope.
And because I really didn't. But one of the loveliest human beings that I've ever met. And as everyone, we all agree, kind, gentil, elegant, traveled, sharing, I miss you, Joseph. And I know that you're going to be around and you'll be visiting, because he visits. Even if it's to jump in and say hi, I'm checking on you, I'm watching, he visits. And I really, really, really miss him. And I'm grateful to have met you all in some ways, and seeing your face with your names, having a face to put with the names and the stories. And I think he was very blessed to have all of you. All of you. Never heard a bad word, just loveliness about all of you. And I feel grateful to have known some of you from a distance, and knowing your stories, and I guess there isn't anything else to say. I loved him, and he's a special. And I'm just feel so grateful to be able to have a sensitivity that I feel that I can be in touch with him whenever I need to or just want to, and that he visits. And he's good. He's good. There's no sense of like, what the fuck? You know, there's none of that because it was such a shock. Excuse my language. But I know it was a shock to him. It was certainly a shock to us. But he's okay. He's good and he's delighted. I mean, there's a delight in him that I felt this morning. A delight because, again, as I said, his thing was bringing us all together in some form, in some way. And so this is a perfect scenario and a perfect meeting and celebration. And I thank you all. And I feel very grateful to have known him on the physical. I really do. Such a lovely.
Thank you, Shay. I think I've wondered that question myself about, you know, he did have the psychic network.
Yes, he did.
None of us knew. I was just going through, he'd been sick for a while.
Yeah.
And I was just figuring, well, in a couple of days, he'll get back to me again, because I hadn't heard from him maybe 3 or 4 days. And then he started sending me texts, and I got all the way up to the night before he died. And I got one even the day, and I didn't come to the day after, which is really odd, but none of us knew, and we weren't supposed to know.
No, I guess not.
It's the only thing I can figure out is they didn't want us to know. So it was strange, because you'd think one of us would pick something up, but we didn't.
No, didn't.
So it's just, it was a shock. I've since lost two other friends, just as quickly. So it just seems to be becoming a pattern lately. But as each of you are talking, I'm just feeling Joseph, and like you said, Shay, I felt him really heavily, and you too, Amy, this morning, maybe 2 hours before the meeting. And I'm feeling him so heavily, he's in my stomach. I mean, we're both empaths.
You want him back? I can give him back to you.
Yes.
Right here.
Yeah.
You'll tell me to go back to you, Brenda.
Oh, thanks. Just that's fine. I've just asked him, like Amy said, just back off a little bit, because as she's talking, Shay is talking, my stomach's starting to go again. I'm like, no, I don't need this. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for me to be nervous about this meeting. I was happy about it. So I just figured out it was Joseph doing.
Right. Saying that we weren't supposed to know. I heard him say, no, none of you were supposed to know, so that I could go. Because he knows that if we knew, we would have done everything we could to stop it.
Yeah.
And his energy is intense right now. He keeps saying that he was supposed to go exactly at the moment he left. He was supposed to go. And I kind of got angry with him and yelled at him in the spirit world, going, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell anybody? And he's like, because everybody would have tried to stop it. And so when God calls you back, you go. So we have to trust what happened was supposed to happen, and that he is learning to expand himself in ways that he couldn't do here. His true nature now gets to shine in the spirit world, and we get to experience him on a different level. His true nature, his true self, and his true bright light that shines. So even though he's not physically here, he will always be with all of you. Always. So he's here, Brenda.
That's true. Thank you. I think what I'm going to miss most is, well, maybe I'm not going to miss it. His text to me almost nightly sometimes, several times a week. Brenda, put me on your list tonight, he'd say. He had some entity bugging him.
Yeah, you were
So
working.
go in and clear him. I think he had several of us helping and working with that, which is good because sometimes I just fall asleep when I first started doing this work, I would do it at 2 or 2:30 in the morning. Don't ask me why, I just felt that's what I was doing. But then I started falling asleep and I went, no, I can't keep doing this way. So I had to change that. But he always knew if he sent me a text by early evening that I would take care of him, get rid of whatever was bothering him. I think the last entities that I removed was the most vicious. I don't think I'll go into it. I still remember it very clearly, and I remembered it for days afterwards. And it's not something that normally happens when I clear somebody. It just kind of leaves. It doesn't stay with me long. Like, even when you're doing a psychic reading, you don't always remember what you said to anybody, but I remembered. And I'm kind of thinking, should I have had a heads up? You'll go back and question things.
Brenda, he wants me to say something. He wants everyone to know he was a medium. Everybody knows he's a medium. And that mediums don't normally get attacked this way. He was also a natural healer and a shaman, which his particular vibration opened up many doors because of the type of work that he does. Plus, I think his inquisitive nature also allowed certain doors to be open as well. The attacks, I think, started happening as his physical body started to deplete and he was not able to protect himself as well as he has in the past. He wants everybody to know mediumship should not be feared. Mediumship should be something that is divine in nature. He's poking me. He wants everyone to know that everyone can connect to the spirit world and that he will be connecting to all of you in the spirit world. He is going to be working fiercely, protecting those here in the physical world that can't protect themselves, such as what we did for him to help him out. But he doesn't want anyone to be afraid, hearing, oh my gosh, he was attacked. It's a different type of attack. It's more of, there are many spirits that are not in the light that get attracted to those that carry a very bright vibration inside of them, natural healers. And so a lot of these spirits that were not in the light were attracted to Joseph because of his love and his light. So he doesn't want anyone to feel bad or afraid of anything that happened to him in the spirit world. He said he was just in training to do the work that he's doing now on the other side. And he's grateful for every experience that he had, good and bad, because it teaches us to be stronger. So he just wants everyone to know that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm certainly not afraid, and I don't mean to make anybody else afraid, but yeah, it happens to all of us. I mean, we can all be approached at times. But in the end, near the end, Joseph did learn to protect himself. He was learning. And several times he removed them himself, which was wonderful. So he was on the right road to doing that. It's something he'd always wanted to do.
But I think Joseph was much more than just a medium. He was also a friend, kind,
he was
generous healer, someone that we can all relate to, whether we're mediums or not.
Yes.
So. Hi, Brenda. Can I say something?
Yes, please.
And I've met all of you too. In fact, Ron said to me, "Don't you know Brenda?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, I've never met Brenda, but I know Brenda. Yeah. So I'm listening to your stories. I'm listening to how Joseph is continuing because he is in all of us. And in fact, isn't that the purpose of life? And so I'm sad, but I've got this joy in me that says that's what's supposed to happen.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, I'm feeling the continuation of life as it is meant to be, that we love others, we care for others. And so my grief feels different from anyone I've grieved, because I'm so keenly aware that the love he left is sustaining me, and now I'm hearing it sustaining you. Joseph and I were neighbors in Harlem, and I knew him well when he was a travel writer. And he was having some stuff going on in his apartment. And I don't have any labels for myself except I'm a prayer warrior. And so I said, well, let's pray it. Let's go pray. I know that. And so we did that, and we got close through that. He actually did a photo shoot in my apartment for some travel magazine. And I want now to find it, because he looked like royalty in that picture. These guys came in and put lights in my dining room and set him up. And he was on his way to France to do an article about two people from Detroit who had found the formula for a blue pigmentation that had been lost for centuries. And you remember that one? And I everything that he talked about in that was like me reading a primer. It was like, really, 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 really. It was so exciting to see how the depth of his information about a whole plethora of things that weren't necessarily linear, but connected in the song of life. And, yeah, I still love Joseph, and I still feel his love at this moment. You know, he taught me and gave me the courage to talk to my sister, who he encouraged me and stood with me spiritually when I walked with her to the end. And so he exposed and opened up parts of me that I didn't know about in a way that I'm confident with at this moment. I think that might have been part of his assignment, that the light exists, and that I don't know if it's socialization, I don't know what. I I I found it through his courage and through his love and through his mentoring and through him encouraging me to step into the death arena, to look at death as our ever constant companion that at some point then becomes all of us. But yeah, thanks for letting me ramble. I miss him in a different way, but because I'm in in Arizona, it doesn't matter, but I would be sitting next to Joseph. I wasn't often sitting next to Joseph, so my missing him is different, but I feel him stronger. And maybe I just need it. And I'm so grateful that he was with me in my life, and that he led me to the ministry and to do some postgraduate work. To have the courage to start all that in my 70s. And he's not here, but I finished it this week. Thank you, Jim.
That's wonderful.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Kathy. Very nice. Ron, would you like to share?
I don't know. Hello.
Okay.
I should. It's great to see all of you. We've heard it all, and I think we discovered this months ago as I met Ramona briefly, and I was unable to attend the service because I was traveling for work. But we soon realized, just from the network, the ever-expanding network that exists, how amazing Joseph's energy is and continues to be. And I think that, you know, sitting here with all of you today, this is the first time that I've actually connected with people that I really know, that knew Joseph and can appreciate this time together. It's a tremendous loss for me. I met Joseph about 25 years ago on a packed subway during rush hour, and we've been friends ever since. And you know, he's been there for me and connected me like he has so many of you with his spiritual network and just friends. When friends were needed, Joseph knew someone. And oftentimes it was, which I mean, some of you will know because you smoked with him. I was an avid pipe smoker, and I would go and sit with him and smoke cigars at times. And you know, if I had something going on and I needed some help with something, or something was bigger than I could manage on my own, or felt that I could manage on my own, Joseph would say, you know, I've got this friend that I met at the cigar shop. Let me get in touch with them and I'll get back to you. And, you know, I mean, a lot of things, and a lot of folks along the way. So it's great to be here with all of you. It's been a tremendous loss. I don't even really know what to say, except that I'm so so thankful, grateful to have known him, and although we had not really been in touch or as close as a result of COVID, we stayed in touch more by telephone and FaceTime occasionally. I know now that it was no coincidence that 2 days before he passed, I went to a rehearsal for a gig, an upcoming gig that I had, and the piano player that was at the rehearsal subbing, he wasn't on the gig, he was just subbing at the rehearsal, turned out to be Joseph's old roommate.
Oh, wow.
And you know, we took a picture after the rehearsal and we sent it to Joseph, and Joseph liked the picture, and that was it. That was the last communication that I had from him. But as some of us know now, Ramona, Diane, Brenda, you know, folks that, you know, were in the immediate circle that I knew, like, okay, I need to pick up the phone and call these people. When Diane reached out to me that Sunday, after, it was the Sunday after Thanksgiving, turns out that his old roommate lived in his neighborhood, and it was pouring rain that day. And I reached out to him and I said, something's up and some folks are trying to find Joseph. And he said, look, I'm teaching on Zoom right now, but let me get back to you. And at some point I said, well, there's a few things going on, so I'll get back to you. And he called me back within a few hours, you know, and he just went over there on his own volition, and he went over to the house and met Joseph's neighbor, you know, who shared the news with him, and he called me right away. And I was pissed for a while. I was like, Joseph, come on now, Joseph, what, you know? But we're all in the same place around that. And it's thanks for sharing that, Amy, that you know, he was doing what he had to do, and it was all for the right reasons. But yeah, I miss the person that exchanged, oh my God, sense of humor, crazy sense. I mean, we could get into it. Music, he always shared music with me. We always talked about music. I always shared, things with him, his writings, and just his friends. So we're all here, and I'm sure there's more of us because we're all over the place. And I know we're going to meet more of the JD collective as we move forward. But I'm just so happy to be here today and have a moment to allow myself to mourn his passing. So thank you all, and I'll stop there. But it's great to see you all.
Thank you, Ron. I knew you had something to say. Quiet as you are.
I'm better with the saxophone.
There you go. Not really. I think you're fine. Thanks. David, is there something you would like to share with us?
There we go.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I just found out not too long ago myself that Joseph had passed, but I had known for some time that he had either passed or he'd entered some deep meditative retreat type of state. I'm not as some of you, I'm just kind of starting out and I'm getting some guidance, and Joseph helped me immensely. I've worked with Amy and Sophia. He did talk very highly of Paul and his past life regression work. But Joseph, I can just say he's just unconditional love. That's what comes to mind. He helped me with a couple issues. I'm not a very good communicator. He was highly intelligent and he is a great communicator. Of course, he was a journalist, so he should be. But I had a legal issue going on, and he told me, he goes, "Do not speak for yourself. You hire somebody to speak for you." And that actually turned out in my favor, which was a very beneficial thing. But he did a reading on me and he told me something that just made me a believer in afterlife, which I'd already been exposed to. But my mother had passed and recently before this reading, and he was able to, someone came through in the reading that I did not request, but they came through very strongly. And my mother, before she passed, did her DNA testing and found out that her father was not her father. So in other words, my grandfather was not my biological grandfather, although he's my grandfather. But this person who I'd never met came through, and I couldn't figure out who it was. And then after I went back and watched the reading a few times, I figured out that it was this person who, it was my biological grandfather that I'd never met. And I mean, only 2 or 3 people even knew this information. So it just totally blew my mind. That's all I can say. He touched my heart. He touched my soul. I'll take him with him wherever I go. I did, I didn't call Dougie. I know Dougie. I know his story. But I called him Soldier. I asked him how he wanted me to refer to Doug. He said, call him Soldier. But I have picture, and even I take his eyes and all I want to see is just this much, because his stare, it goes right to my soul. And this is, yes, yes, Lisa. Anyway, I'm very blessed to have known Joseph and had him be part of my life. And I look at things in a very positive, loving way, even the afterlife now. I used to be very afraid of it, but not anymore. And I don't want to sound too cheerful about it, but I'm glad that he is limitless. He's limitless again. So you all know that more than I. But thank you for listening, and I'm glad you were all here.
Well, thank
Many
you.
blessings.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here too. Jackie Radford, is there something you would like to share with us?
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. And it's such a blessing to be here with all of you to talk about my dear friend Joseph. I met Joseph in 2006 through Kathy Bristow. I was in New York having dinner with Kathy, and she said, "Do you mind if I invite this guy to go?" And I said, "No." And so we're together, the three of us sitting in a restaurant. And my mother had died a month before. And I had another major event in 2006. My granddaughter was born, and she was abandoned at birth. And so I'd had two major events. And so Joseph starts to talk to me. I never met this guy before. And he says, "Who is Dennis?" And I said, "Oh, I have a brother named Dennis." And then he said, "Who's Al?" And I said, "I have a brother named Al. Do you know my family?" And he said, "No, your mother is here." And I was like, okay. And from there, it was like, get a pen and paper because she's got a lot to say. And I later asked Joseph, we became good friends after that. And I later asked him, how did he know that I wouldn't jump up and run out of the restaurant? And he said, because your mother told me that you're on the path and that you would understand. And so Kathy, you need to show your face here. You're not, but I will forever be grateful to you, Kathy, for introducing me to Joseph. Yeah, because he changed my life. He changed my point of view. He changed my offer in the world. The conversations that we had brought my perspective and just made me a better person, more capable of loving and caring, more understanding. I mean, I could just go on and on with the gifts that he gave me. And, we had deep, deep, deep conversations. And, some losses are understandable and some are not. And the last thing Joseph wrote to me in text, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, was, "Jackie, you don't have to respond to what I'm saying to you, just sit with my words." And I was like, okay, I'm going to sit with your words. And then I expected to be able to have a word after that. And I couldn't have another word. So I'm still sitting with what he was saying to me. And I have to say, he told me 3 times in the text messages, "I love you." 3 times. 3 times. And he'd never done that before. He never, like, "I love you, I love you, I love you." So I've seen him do work that's beyond imagination. I've taken people to meet Joseph in New York, and I've seen him work and help people. I've seen him embody folks that had passed on, and he just had a tremendous gift. So I just appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you, honoring him. And it's not a loss that I understand quite yet. I miss him. Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jackie. Veronica.
Hi, good afternoon, all.
Hi.
I live in St. Thomas and with Dilsa, and I just asked her how long ago had we met Joseph, and she said about 20 years. And who could believe that? It's just like been that long. But the personal part of the story is he used to write me letters. And who does that? You know, I mean, that was such a lost art. But you know, his flowing handwriting, his words, his insight, it was special. I was lucky to have that. You know, I'm a lawyer by trade, so writing is also something that I do. But he had such a command of it. And one of the last times that he was in touch with me, or I was in touch with him, he called me and he said, I just want you to know how much I love your smile and your laugh, and I love you, and hung up. And I was like, what did, you know, like what just happened? So I texted him and he said, yeah, just that's me. You know, he would call me and talk about Dougie and all kinds of things. Like, you know, I don't have to repeat to you guys because he did the same with you. But on that other level, and on that, it doesn't have to be labeled spiritual, but just a high being level. And, you know, I I wish and hope that I could be a person like that in his stead and use his words and friendship and comfort as, you know, training for that position. So that's kind of where I'm at. When, you know, when Ron told me, I was like, no, you got to be wrong about that. I mean, you know, I'm 70 and he was what, 50? Was he 50?
61, I think.
61.
62. I'm
62.
62.
And, you know, when I'm hearing this, sometimes we take people for granted who come into your life. But this has really taught me not to do that anymore. So I could cry, but I don't think he wants me to do that. He told me about my smile, so I need to do and use that more often, as opposed to tears and mourning. I lost my husband too. So, but I gained a granddaughter who's now 4. And, you know, he was like, she's special, and she is. So that's Veronica's story. I'm originally from New York, Queens. But I've lived in the Virgin Islands for long, I can't even count the years. So I'm a Virgin Islander also. And that's all I'll say right now. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Brenda.
Oh, you're welcome, Veronica. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dilsa, I see you now.
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Brenda.
Hi.
Everyone.
Hi.
I live in St. Thomas with Veronica. She's my yin and I'm her yang. And we first met Joseph about 20 years ago, actually at a gathering of spirits in the physical at a very dear friend at the time. Her name was, right now her name, Vanessa. And the next day we traveled to DC to go to the cathedral or the Basilica of the Virgin Mary. And with Joseph, we had so many experiences there that comes to mind. Then Joseph and Veronica and I, and of course we got to know him through Ron, who I've known Ron since he was like maybe 2 or 3. His mom was my mentor in the work that I do, social work. This is my 59th year, but Joseph and Veronica and I kept in touch on the telephone, and then he would write letters. I hadn't been in touch with Joseph for many, many years, but I communicated with him vicariously through Veronica. And about 2 months ago, maybe 3, right before Joseph passed, she called and she said, guess who I heard from? And she said, Joseph. And I said, oh my. So I went immediately and looked through boxes, and I said, I have to find these letters from Joseph. And I found them. I put them on my altar in my bedroom, and I tied them with a lavender ribbon. 2 days before Brenda called to tell me Joseph had passed, during the night, I heard a drop because I had put one of my crystals on top of them. And when I got up, went to the bathroom and came back, the 3 letters were on the floor and the ribbon was off. And I'm like, okay, maybe, I don't know, my mother or angel, maybe somebody just is trying to get my attention. It happened again the night after that. And then Brenda called the 3rd night and told me Joseph had passed. And then I said, okay, this got to be Joseph. And it was really very touching, and I was trying to really grasp the fact that he had passed. And during that time, I had 3 other friends who I was close with, and they had made their transitions as well. So it was a time of just a sadness. And I took out, then the night after that, I got this sweet smell in my bedroom, and I heard this like soft calypso music, like on the wings of our breezes. And I said, Joseph, I know that's you. And all I could hear in my spirit is, when are you going to read the letters? When are you going to read the letters? And I'm like, I haven't done them yet, but after today, and it's been very heartwarming listening to all of you and your relationship stories and the intimate things I'm sure most of us have shared with him, and the fact that he is and will always be with us. Because I really believe that. Those of you that responded in that way, he's going to be forever here because he loves much. And I know we love him much. But while I was listening to the conversations, I kept thinking about this book. It's one of my favorite books. It's called Tying Rocks to Clouds. I forget right now the author, but it's this man wrote this book. First, he went and wrote a list of all the famous people he would have loved to meet in life. And then he went all over the world and met them. And as I'm listening to your conversations, which are very moving, I keep saying, if I had a book and I had written a book about the 20 people, 25 people I would have really, in this lifetime, wanted to have met, that Joseph would be on my list. So I'm grateful to have met him. I'm grateful through Ron and Brenda. And I'm grateful to have known him and engaged in life with him. And I feel it was quite a blessing. And he'll always be in our memory because of everything you all have said today. And I'm grateful to be on the call today. I'm grateful for the love, because in my lifetime, there were times I went through a lot. And I remember one night he called me and he said, your mother is in my bedroom and she said she needs to talk to you immediately. And I was going through some trauma back then, but we must have spent about 2.5 hours talking. And I knew my mother was there because of the things that Joseph shared with me that only my mother and I knew. So I'm grateful to be on this conversation. I'm grateful that we all knew Joseph, that he was in our lives and became a very important person in our lives. And I'm just grateful. And love to every one of you, and blessings as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilsa. I think that day you met Joseph at Veronica's was the same day I met you and Joseph.
Yes, at Vanessa's.
That was in 2000, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was quite an experience.
It was. You're right.
Quite a gathering. Yes.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Philippe, is there anything you'd like to share?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Good evening. For me, it's evening now. Um, I'm jealous to you because you're further than me in the process of grieving. I still don't believe it. Because yeah, Joe was like a bro for me. He was calling me mon frère in French, and I was calling him back my brother. So he was my soul brother, let's say. I first met him in '97 when I first visited New York, my first overseas trip, and we both bumped into each other in the lift at the YMCA I had a reservation at, and he was also living there, moving between apartments, and we immediately connected together. I've met many people in a lift, but that one was very special. And since then, we've developed a true friendship over the years. I came to visit him back in '98, in 2000, and then I remember that he came over to France, meeting me, my parents, my son, my wife as well. We had a wonderful time at that moment, and then we kept in touch. And the last time I visited him was in 2018. Frank mentioned that it's when I first met Frank as well and his family, and through Joseph, we also developed a friendship. I last spoke with him on the 12th of November. I will remember that date forever. We had a nice talk over the phone or video chat, and I was millions of years, let's say, knowing he would pass away like 10 days after. He was smiling. He was in good shape from what I could see. He sent me photos of him under his porch. He was loving spending time under his porch, reading books, enjoying a cognac, and having a cigar. As everybody, I think everybody get the picture. So yeah, he was an amazing guy. All the stories I've heard from you makes even me think that this was like a unique person. And yeah, this time of the week was typically the time we had a nice talk. Sunday, late afternoon for him, evening for me, late evening for me. And yeah, since 3 months, my Sundays evening are really sad now. And yeah, it's hard for me. I had planned to visit him again in 24 this summer. I was in my plans, and he was always saying, "Yeah, come over anytime. There's a room for you." So yeah, it's sad. When I think about his last moments, I learned that he passed away very early morning in his apartment. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I can get through that still. But yeah, Joe was like a unique person and a true friend, my best friend, let's say, forever. And yeah, living without him is very hard. It's like I lost part of myself. Yeah.
I think we all totally understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda, for organizing it.
Yes.
Really appreciate
It's
that.
my pleasure. Thank you. Arlene, I haven't forgotten that you're there, and a few others. Thank you. Would you like to share with us?
Yes, I'm not sure I know most of you. Thanks to Frank letting me know that this was happening today. I'm able to be here. I want to say that I think we're in the new normal right now with the unexpected. And I think that's where our world is headed right now. And I think it's what it must be right now. And for myself, I have really made it my new normal. Like this could be the end that you see someone, so you need to do it now, whatever it's going to be. It has to be done now. So it's an interesting new way to live. I'm a healer. I do healing. I was told to lay hands by the divine, and it's been quite a road for me. I only know that my greatest asset in my life is the divine. And I want to share, if I may, if it's okay with everyone, a writing I have received from Spirit. I've received many writings from Spirit. And I chose one that I felt would be appropriate for what we're doing here today.
Sure.
And it's called Trust That. Trust That.
Mm-hmm.
Can you find that which grows a tree? That which makes a baby grow into an adult? Yet you trust that they will grow. You don't hover over a newborn baby and wait to see it grow. Trust that. Trust that which causes the ocean to fill the rivers. Trust that. What causes the sun, moon, and stars to be? Trust that. Trust that which beats your heart and turns food into nourishment. Trust that. I am the unseen hand. Trust that. Trust that which inspires you, that which holds you. What a miracle this life is. What privilege sits before your unseen eyes. What grandeur makes the sun rise and set. What knows love, that which you are made by, that which nourishes and supports you, that which is within and without, above and below, the glue of the matrix, the unspeakable, unseen substance. Trust that. That which grows the food that feeds your soul, the great unseen, the master caretaker, the master peacemaker, ever present in the activity of every cell, with detailed blueprints, invisible to the eye, instructions built in, present, naked to life. Trust that. Trust that which heals your wounds, that which fills the words on a page, helping you to remember the way. Oh, come, revel in the splendor of the magic that sits before you. Be as a child discovering life anew, life holding itself before you, and the joy, the delight you had waking every morning, never desiring sleep, never questioning the promise of life, curiosity taking the lead, freedom to be, to explore. Oh, the wonder of life. Trust that. So I think for me, we have to trust that.
You're right.
That's what it's all about for me. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
thank you.
that's what it's all about for most of us. Thank you. For all of us, actually. Then we trust that, as you were saying, that also that Joseph came into our lives and enriched each of us, and that he had to leave when he had to leave. We had to trust that.
Yeah, I was as shocked as everyone else, but I've received at least 3 shockings in the last 3 months. A beautiful teacher I worked with for years, just that's it. And I was like, what? How is that possible? So I think our eyes and our senses want to hold on to this passing thing. And when we keep remembering we're not the passing thing, we're the thing that created the passing thing, then we can get past this. Because when I found out my teacher had passed, I was in the car, it was raining, I was very sad. And I could hear her voice saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" You know that you're you know what's real. Now stop that. Let's go. Get on with it. And I put a little smile on my face and I said, "Thank you. I love you for what you've given me." And same with all of us. Same with Joe Dumas, a beautiful, beautiful man. And I just hope that I will finally get to putting these writings to print in a book so I can share them with others, because I get some beautiful spirit. Yeah.
That's a great
So
idea.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
allowing me to share it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, Ramona, you were Joseph's brother. You've known him longer than any of us. What would you like to share about Mr. Duty?
Well, my mother left home at 8 o'clock that night, and he was in the world by 8:40 p.m.
Wow.
So I did know him for a very long time. I've been very touched, and I just feel blessed myself and grateful for the ones of you I've met through this process. It's an ongoing process. That's all I can say. There are times it really doesn't seem real. It seems like I should be able to take the phone and text or call him, and that just doesn't happen. But he was a very happy, well cared for baby. As I've told a few people, everything with him had to be very special. The diapers had to be soaked, rinsed, then washed again. His cloth diapers had to be ironed. Everything was very special. Even having mosquito nets over his baby bed as he got older in the summer months. I don't think he could really touch dirt for a long time. By his dad being really a grandparent's age of having him, it made a big difference. So growing up, until his father passed, he had, where most kids, if they had one toy, Joseph always had maybe two toys, two of the same toys. So he had a very privileged life, and then life changed when my stepdad passed away. Life really changed for him. And as much as he loved his dad, I wish, he had longer to be in the physical world with his dad. He tried to emulate his father. I can say that easily, whether it was in his style of dress, in the words he chose, in just everything. He really tried to emulate all the many stories my mother told him about his dad and all that he remembered himself. His recall, his memory really was quite phenomenal, because he could ask me things about our hometown, but then he could name the streets and just things a little boy would really not pay attention to. That was just him. But again, this process, since his passing, I think it's a lot of comfort to me to know and hear the many things said about him. That's really a blessing for me, because I'm still having a lot of trouble with this as well. I have his remains here with me.
Oh, good.
I still plan to do a service. One of my primary doctor for myself now has a referral for me to see an orthopedic guy at the end of the month. So I don't want to make or set a date now until it'll have to be after I know they want me to have surgery apparently. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes, and then I can update and let everyone know. But Joseph, I just wanted to say, he, as far as growing up, once he left home, at that point was Jackson, Mississippi, and then he was in Washington, D.C. He led a very different type life than most of us. And the friends he has made in all these years, it really amazes me. But I just thank all of you for sharing your stories about him. It's a comfort to me.
Thank you. It's strange that you said he was born at 8:40 p.m. To me, that means something because I was also born on the same day as Joseph, at the same time as Joseph.
What?
But 14 years earlier.
Oh my, now that is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite.
Yeah, I've always felt as all of us do, that we had a connection with him. Now it just kind of
really
solidifies it a little more. Yeah. It is interesting. Thank you. Let's see, is Colette's not back yet? Devin.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
will
you're
go.
sitting there so patiently. Thank you.
I'm very patient. My mom taught me well. No, I've heard all, you say that Joseph came into your life, but I came into Joseph's. I've known him since I was born.
Oh.
And so, because I'm Diane's daughter, but so to know
Nice to
Joseph as
meet
a
you.
child, nice to meet you. To know Joseph as a child is to be given the blessing of not to fear what comes after. And to know that from a young age, and just to be open to all these experiences, and open to the idea that we live on and we get to see those who we love once we leave this plane, is the greatest blessing that Joseph ever given to me. And so to know him as a child and to be able to grow up knowing that, he also just shared his pride in my sister and I. My sister had to drop from the call to take her dog out. But he was just always so proud of my sister and I. And I think that's because he got to see us from birth. And to watch us grow into the women that we are today. I spoke to him, I think, a month before his passing. I went to New Orleans and he gave me a phone call and just told me to go to the places he wrote about and the places that were important to him. And I think that that's just truly who Joseph was. If he could share and give and just pass something along to you, even if it was anecdotal, he would do it. So, I mean, I'm only 32, but I've known him for 32 years and that's a gift. So it was a blessing to know him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. I'm not sure. Is there anyone I've forgotten? I don't think so. I wanted to have Colette, but she's not at her computer at the moment.
Yeah, she doesn't have access to the connection, the audio. So she's had to listen in on my phone during the call because she's not very technically savvy, and I think she was just having some problems. So I just said I'll keep my phone on. So that's how she's been listening in. So I don't think she'd be able to talk anyway.
Oh, well, if she's listening, there she is.
Oh, there she is.
Colette, if you're listening, I just want to share with you that I guess I can't imagine your loss with Dougie, but him living with Joseph has to be such a blessing because he certainly was to Joseph and to many of us. We feel like we know your son, although none of us had ever met him. But he was a wonderful individual in spirit, and I can't imagine he was any different when he was here in physical form. You had a lot to be proud of your son. And I wanted to tell you that.
you've all said about Joseph, and I would just like to say that I don't really understand the connection. For me, I don't understand the connection between Joseph and Dougie, but I think everything you've said, I've so enjoyed hearing, and I loved Joseph. He was huge. I'm sorry not to be very articulate. He was huge solace in my life when I lost my Dougie. Everything you all said is wonderful, and I loved him dearly too.
Thank you. I know he thought an awful lot of you.
He sure did.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I'm not going to keep this going forever with me just babbling. So, but I want to thank each of you for coming. This has been wonderful, just to share all of our experiences and what Joseph meant to us. And he will continue to mean to us until we meet him again. I'm looking forward to that, but not quite yet. I think I hopefully still have a few years left to keep doing what I'm doing here. But I am looking forward to meeting him again. So with that, unless somebody else has something else they'd like to say, I'm going to end the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see all of you all. Meet you all again, those who I haven't.
Yeah, meet you guys. Thank you.
The rest of you.
Thank you, everybody.
I have recorded this, so if anybody would like a copy, I can send it out. Just let me know. Okay, good.
Yes, I think it's good.
Thank you.
And it's
Deb,
everybody.
we'll be talking.
Good afternoon.
Good
Bye.
afternoon.
Bye.
Night from here.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks,
You're
Brenda.
welcome. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Bye-bye.
maybe I'm gonna, my thing's not working. There it goes.